decisive and bold actions to tackle the crisis. That is why a year ago on Thursday, 23rd July 2020, I came before this House to present what I called an extraordinary mid-year fiscal policy review of the 2020 budget statement and economic policy, and secured more funds to provide an immediate and appropriate response to the severe economic impact of the pandemic. In addition, the 2021 expenditure in advance of appropriation presented to this House on 28 October 2020 saw to the uninterrupted delivery of government business in the first quarter of this year and the ongoing implementation of the 2021 budget and economic policy of Friday, 12 March, is driving and the revitalization of the economy in line with our theme of completion, consolidation, and continuity. With these approvals, we intervened with timely measures to help, particularly households, schools, hospitals, and businesses, withstand the impact of the pandemic. Government provided direct transfers to households through food distribution and absorption of water and electricity bills, tax waivers to frontline health workers, and stimulus packages to small and medium-scale enterprises were also provided. Mr. Speaker, these interventions stabilized the situation, protected lives, supported businesses, and preserved jobs which would otherwise have been lost. In fact, although the workload from the public sector had to be reduced in many cases, all through the COVID crisis, government has never once embarked on any program of laying off workers. Rather, we have continued to pay all workers and even proceeded to employ more in some critical areas such as security and health services. Mr. Speaker, let me use this opportunity to thank organized labor and employers for their role in concluding wage negotiations with government in May. The negotiations were marked by a shared understanding of the state of the economy, that we as a nation cannot share what we do not have, a collective will to improve productivity, raise more revenue, and ensure decent wages in the years to come. Mr. Speaker, as a result of our competent management of the crisis situation, Ghana's economy has outperformed its peers, recovering faster. After recording negative growth in the second and third quarters of 2020, the economy rebounded strongly in the last quarter of the year, continue well into the first quarter of 2021. The Ghana Statistical Service reports the overall GDP growth for first quarter 2021 was 3.1%. The growth was even better, excluding oil, at 4.6%. The Bank of Ghana Composite Index of Economic Activity attests to the strong growth recovery, with the index growing at 33.1% at the end of May 2021, compared to a contraction of 10.23% at the end of May 2020. Mr. Speaker, on inflation, we are witnessing one of the lowest numbers on record in about 2 years. Inflation, which at the height of the pandemic hovered around 11.8%, dropped to 7.5% in May 2021, before inching up slightly to 7.8% in June. The Bank of Ghana will continue to implement appropriate monetary policy to maintain inflation rate within the target of 8 plus or minus 2%. The city has been relatively stable in the past 4 years and maintained its stability even in this pandemic year. For the first time in the Fourth Republic, the exchange rate did not see a spike after an election year. Cumulatively, from the beginning of the year to date, the exchange rate has depreciated by 0.6% against the US dollar and appreciating by 3.6% against the euro. This stability is expected to continue as we move towards the close of the year. The relatively strong performance of the standard sector led to an increase in the reserves position to $11 billion US, equivalent to 5 months of imports, one of the highest on record. This compares well with a reserve position of $9.2 billion, equivalent to 4.3 months imports cover in the corresponding period last year. Mr. Speaker, we are managing the finances of the country with discipline and competence. The fiscal operations for the period January to June 2021 indicate that the overall deficit was 22.32 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to 5.1% of GDP. The corresponding primary balance for the period was a deficit of 7.3 billion cedis, equivalent to 1.7% of GDP, against a target of 4.8 billion Ghana cedis, or 1.1% of GDP. We will continue to pursue our fiscal consolidation agenda to ensure that we remain within the appropriation given by this august House. Mr. Speaker, I would like to note that notwithstanding our elevated debt levels as a result of COVID-19, our inflation rate is lower than it was in 2016. Our interest rates are lower than they were in 2016. Our exchange rate is more stable than it was in 2016. Our foreign exchange reserves are much higher than they were in 2016. And we did not have to lay off any workers, nor cancel teacher and nursing training allowances. Furthermore, we did not go to the IMF for a bailout program, neither have we built an interchange for the price of 3. This is because we have managed the economy much better than it was managed up to 2016. Let us, Mr. Speaker, not forget this. On the back of these and other deliberate policies, our country has attracted more foreign direct investment in the midst of the pandemic. As of end June 2021, total FDI into the country was valued at $954.2 million, indicating an increase of 71.2% from US $557.2 million recorded over the same period last year. Mr. Speaker, the strong rebound in growth, the low inflation rates, the stable currency, the strong reserve position, and FDI flows are clear indicators of an economy in recovery. Indeed, the strategic investments we collectively made in building strong economic fundamentals in the 3 years prior to this pandemic, as well as the subsequent speed, scope, and scale of our socio-economic response to the pandemic, is fueling our recovery. Mr. Speaker, I stand before this august House today to assure the nation that our transformation agenda is very much on course. However, with COVID-19 still with us, it is important to stress that the recovery is only the beginning, a beginning that requires our collective sense of responsibility and action as citizens to guide, protect, and participate in the recovery efforts. Mr. Speaker, this mid-year fiscal policy review that I'm presenting does not come with a supplementary budget, and our revised fiscal framework for 2021 is kept within the fiscal target of 9.5% of GDP. We are staying within the 2021 appropriation. Respectfully, Mr. Speaker, let me repeat. I'm not here today to ask for more money. I have not come. Mr. Speaker, I'm not here today to ask for more money. I have not come to ask for more taxes. I have come to update the House on the performance of the economy for the first half year of 2021 and our plans for the unexpired term of the year consistent with Section 28 of the PFM Act. One of the serious impacts, Mr. Speaker, of the COVID-19 pandemic has been the loss of jobs, which has exacerbated the unemployment problem, particularly among the youth. As such, government is ready with a comprehensive program to tackle this intractable problem. The goal is to create employment opportunities for 1 million of our young people over the next 2.5 years by igniting, Mr. Speaker, a high spirit of entrepreneurship. We will count on the support of this august House for this. Our focus on taxes is to collect what is due the Republic. To this end, we are building a robust framework to expand domestic revenue mobilization to focus on compliance and enforcement nationwide. We have established, Mr. Speaker, the Revenue Assurance and Compliance Enforcement, RACE, R-A-C-E. The remit of RACE, Mr. Speaker, is to identify and eliminate revenue leakages in areas such as petroleum bunkering, gold and minerals exports, port operations, transit goods, warehousing, border controls, and free zones operations, to name but a few. Mr. Speaker, I will now present an assessment of the programs we have and continue to implement in line with our strategy for completion, consolidation, and continuity, which is the theme for the 2021 budget and economic policy. These programs address the concerns of our fellow Ghanaians, especially our youth, and demonstrate our commitment to create sustainable and inclusive opportunities for. Mr. Speaker, in fulfillment of our completion pledge, we have completed a number of projects and activities, including but not limited to the 4-tier interchange at Kokwase, the first of its kind in West Africa, to ease, and second in Africa, to ease travel constraints and enhance our productivity. The 85-bed Central Gunja District Hospital, located in Boape, to improve access to quality health care. Key strategic factories to provide jobs and accelerate our industrialization agenda, including the new factory of Premium Foods Limited at Ejusu in the Ashanti region, one of the leading agribusiness in Ghana. Nano Foods Limited, pineapple juice processing factory at Nsewem. Phase 1 of D5 steel plant in La Plega in Ningo Pram, which when fully completed will become the biggest steel factory in West Africa. Toyota Tushu vehicle assembly plant in Tema, successfully securing the removal of Ghana from the Financial Action Task Force grace list, which has enhanced access to global markets and finance for our businesses, and the signing of seven implementation compacts under the Ghana Cares Obatampa program. Mr. Speaker, towards consolidating the gains made, we have, among others, pursued prudent macro-fiscal policies that puts us back on track to restore economic stability and growth, fostered a resilient financial ecosystem under Ghana Cares by establishing the building blocks for stronger and catalytic collaboration between institutions such as the Ghana Incentive-Based and Risk-Sharing Scheme for Agricultural Lending, GESAL, Ghana Commodity Exchange, GCS, Venture Capital Trust Fund, and the Restructured Ghana Enterprises Agency, formerly MBSSI, to anchor a new age of entrepreneurship, job creation, and wealth building for our post-COVID transformation. We issue the historic foreign currency denominated zero-coupon bond in our financing mix, that's creating the fiscal space to build our financial resilience, and revamp the energy sector to further stabilize electricity supply for households and businesses. Mr. Speaker, our pledge on continuity has also driven us to continue to implement the Phase 2 of the Ghana Cares Obatampa program to revitalize our economy after successful execution of the stabilization measures in Phase 1. Continue to implement our key flagship programs, including Free SHS, PFJ, 1D, 1F, among others, to enhance the quality of life of our people and further advance our transformation agenda. Continued our environmental agenda by embarking on a war against illegal mining, Galamsey, to preserve our water bodies and protect the environment. And continue government's historic partnership with labor and employers, and also with the faith-based organizations. Mr. Speaker, in addition to the above, we've continued to provide the needed resources, equipment, and personnel to maintain security and peace within our borders. We are on course, Mr. Speaker, to transform the security services to enable them to adequately respond to emerging national and sub-regional threats. Mr. Speaker, we are aware of various conversations and we will take appropriate measures at the right time, and we beg this House to support us in that bid. In line with government's agenda to enhance our global stature, Ghana placed a bid and was elected as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council for the 2022-2023 term. Additionally, His Excellency the President was also elected unanimously for a second term as Chairman of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS. President Akufo-Addo remains co-chair of the United Nations and Sustainable Development Goals Advocate Group with Norway's Prime Minister, Erna Solberg. He is also the AU champion for both financial institutions and gender affairs. As a result of the increased international visibility and exemplary leadership of the President during this pandemic, government has been able to procure and administer 1,271,393 doses of COVID-19 vaccines, while 865,422 people have received the first dose, 405,971 have been fully vaccinated with the second dose at the end of June this year. Mr. Speaker, our diplomatic efforts are yielding results, and we are expecting to receive through the COVAX facility 1.2 million Pfizer vaccines from the United States of America, 249,600 AstraZeneca vaccines from the United Kingdom. In addition, government has committed itself to purchase through the African Medicine Supply Platform 17 million Johnson & Johnson single-dose vaccines. Furthermore, the President has set up a committee dedicated to facilitating our domestic capacity to manufacture COVID-19 vaccines, beginning with the process of fill and finish. Mr. Speaker, on the economic front, the additional policies and strategies aligned in the Ghana CD 100 billion Ghana Cares Obatampa program will be vital in our journey towards economic recovery and transformation. Our strategy to place the private sector at the heart of this endeavor is to accelerate competitive import substitution and export expansion to generate sustainable jobs for our teeming youth under 35 years of age, who make up about 71% of our population. Mr. Speaker, the unemployment situation in our country has been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. This is a situation which will confront aggressively. Indeed, it is an issue that will be at the forefront of our national discourse. The future of our young people and their livelihoods are of utmost importance to us as a nation. It requires urgent action, and the President has directed that we consolidate and implement new programs and projects to address it. It is crucial to our destiny. Mr. Speaker, over the course of this year, like many of my colleagues in government and in this House, I have traveled around the country, engaged with the people, especially young people. We have listened to them and heard their concerns. 8 weeks ago, Mr. Speaker, I visited Tamale and Sunyani and interacted with thousands of young people. Also visited Chebi and Trapiase, drawn from various universities and tertiary institutions as part of the Springboard Foundation program. I also participated in both the Accra Springboard and NUC's annual leadership training programs. These interventions, Mr. Speaker, provided me with yet another opportunity to experience at first hand the expectations and aspirations of our young people. Our responsibility as government is to accelerate our response. In connection with that, I have had extensive discussions with my colleague Ministers of Employment and Labor Relations, Youth and Sports, and Lands and Natural Resources. New programs will be introduced and existing ones scaled up and refocused to meet the aspirations of our youth. We will work together to sensitize and connect the youth to the numerous opportunities being made available by government, including a strategy to create jobs and business opportunities for 1 million Ghanaian youth by 2024. So far, we've developed 5 new programs, including an exciting U-Bank program. Mr. Speaker, the good people of Ghana have given us another 4 years mandate to manage the country mitigate the impact of COVID-19, and pursue our transformation agenda of equal opportunities and prosperity for all. We are in the 7th month of the journey and executing the mandate with diligence, integrity, and faith, and we are determined to overcome the challenges that confront our nation. Let us join hands to build a more inclusive, confident, and hopeful society. COVID-19 has caused enough havoc, but we are resilient and confident people and should not allow ourselves to be defeated by the negatives. As 2 Timothy 1:7 tells us that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. We should have courage, Mr. Speaker, hope, and resolve to work hard and expect that the Almighty God, whom most of us believe and serve, will look kindly on us and bless the work of our hands. Mr. Speaker, I now proceed to give details of developments for the first half year of 2021 and will conclude with the outlook for the rest of the year. Mr. Speaker, since the presentation of the 2021 budget to this August House in March this year, global growth recovery has generally strengthened, supported by the ongoing mass vaccinations and the general relaxation of COVID-19 restrictions, as well as continued policy support. However, the emergence of new COVID-19 variants and potentially third waves in parts of the world, as well as disruptions of the vaccination efforts across emerging market and developing economies, is creating some uncertainty and threatening to undermine global recovery efforts. Economic recovery in most emerging markets and developing economies is expected to slow down, mainly due to continuous non-availability of vaccines. Mr. Speaker, to put the assessment of the performance of the economy for the first half of 2021 in perspective, permit me to restate the macroeconomic targets set for 2021 as presented in the 2021 budget as follows. Overall real GDP growth of at least 5%, non-oil real GDP growth of at least 6.7%, end period inflation of 8.0%, fiscal deficit of 9.5% of GDP, primary deficit of 1.3% of GDP, and gross international reserve to cover not less than 4 months of imports of goods and services. Mr. Speaker, even though the second quarter 2021 gross domestic product data is yet to be released by the Ghana Statistical Service, provisional data for the first quarter 2021 show that the recovery process from the COVID-19 pandemic is gaining some momentum, and the targets for most of the macroeconomic indicators are largely on track. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I now present highlights of the 2021 half-year fiscal performance. The implementation of the 2021 budget has been successful so far. We remain fully committed to achieving the fiscal deficit target of 9.5% of GDP for the year in order to not to derail from the objective of returning to the Fiscal Responsibility Act fiscal deficit and primary balance thresholds of 5% of GDP and positive primary balance, respectively, by 2024. Mr. Speaker, the provisional fiscal data for January to June 2021 show that total revenue and grants amounted to 28.3 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to 6.5% of GDP, against a program target of 32.5 cedis, or 7.5% of GDP. For the same period, total expenditure, including the clearance of arrears, amounted to 50.6 billion, equivalent to 11.7% of GDP, against a program target of 55.1 billion, or 12.7% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, the fiscal deficit for the period was financed from both foreign and domestic sources. Net foreign financing of 15.2 billion Ghana cedis constituted 68.3% of the total financing and included inflows from Eurobond proceeds. On the other hand, total domestic financing amounted to Ghana cedis 7.1 billion, representing 31.7% of total financing. Public debt development. Mr. Speaker, the total public debt stock as a percentage of GDP increased from 76.1% at the end of December 2020 to 77.1% of GDP at the end of June 2021. This stock includes the financial and energy sector bailouts. Excluding the financial sector bailout, the nominal debt stock as percent of GDP is 72.9%. The increase in the debt stock was mainly because of the Eurobond issuance of April 2021, COVID-19 pandemic effect, contingent liabilities, and front-loading of financing to meet cash flow requirements for the first half of this year. Mr. Speaker, the loss of human capital as a result of COVID-19 continues to be devastating. The reported steady decline in weekly average infections, which to 179 by the week of 5th March 2021, was sustained to 60 cases by the week of 20th June 2021. Since then, however, the detection and spread of the Delta variant has largely driven up reported cases. As of 25th July 2021, overall COVID-19 infections since the first confirmed case on 12 March 2021 has reached 103,019. There are currently 4,983 active cases, 97,213 recoveries against all efforts. 823 persons have died due to COVID-19 over the same period. Mr. Speaker, improving regional and global supply chains and rising demands led to total exports reaching $2.5 billion in the first 2 months of 2021. By June, this has significantly increased to $7.6 billion. In addition, the COVID-19 related regulatory reliefs and policy measures introduced by the Bank of Ghana continue to promote bank lending activities. From the beginning of the year to June 2021, new advances reached $16 billion, marginally above the advances of $15.8 billion during the same period in 2020. It is expected that as economic activities rebound and lending rates drop further, private sector credit will pick up. Mr. Speaker, proactive and pragmatic policies have ensured that the tourism and hospitality industry, which had perhaps endured its most difficult year in 2020, is on a rebound. Tourist arrivals in the country as at the end of 2020 was about 370,000, as against a revised target of 400,000 for 2020. With the reopening of the Kotoka International Airport in September 2020, arrivals at the end of the second quarter of 2021 were 231,000, representing 65% of the full year arrivals in 2020. Mr. Speaker, there are also other positive trends for this pandemic, as digital technology is assuming a more significant role in the operations of businesses. Almost 9 out of 10 firms are now leveraging digital platforms to market their products. Similarly, mobile money, door-to-door delivery by courier services, and internet usage for business operations also increased by 77%. Mr. Speaker, since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, government developed and implemented a number of interventions expressed in the National COVID-19 Emergency Preparedness and Response Plan and the National Strategic COVID-19 Response Plan, July 2020 to December 2024. Mr. Speaker, these plans and related interventions provided a comprehensive framework to mobilize and disburse funds which have proved vital to the success of the national containment and case management measures. Since Ghana recorded its first 2 cases on 12 March 2020, the Ghana Health Service has conducted 1,416,952 tests as of 25th July 2021, with a cumulative positivity rate of 7.3%. Mr. Speaker, Ghana implemented the COVID-19 vaccination campaign as part of the containment strategy and has developed the National Deployment and Vaccination Plan. It is planned that 20 million Ghanaians will be vaccinated in order to achieve herd immunity. Mr. Speaker, we have upgraded our national, regional, and district cold chain facilities to widen our access to vaccines like Pfizer and Moderna that require -70 degrees centigrade cold chains. These include 16 ultra-low cold, 58 units of ultra-low freezers, 50 normal for steam refrigerators, 300 boxes to be filled with ice packs, 300 ice-packed freezers, 10 cold chain vans, and 120 temperature monitoring devices. Government has also committed to providing seed funding of $25 million towards the development of the country's capacity to produce vaccines domestically. This will be achieved through the establishment of a National Vaccine Institute. Mr. Speaker, the pandemic further strengthened our efforts to tackle discrimination and inequality against women, since the sectors hard hit by the crisis like tourism, hospitality, and small-scale retailing employ a large number of women. It is important to note that Ghana was one of the few countries in the world that devised a plan to ensure that the impact of the pandemic on MSMEs will be minimized. Through the Ghana Enterprise Agency, formerly National Board for Small Scale and Industries, a number of programs were implemented to minimize the impact of the pandemic and also to support in the realization of the government vision of diversity, inclusivity, and job creation. Under the Ghana cedi 600 million Coronavirus Alleviation Program business support, a total of 520 million Ghana cedis had been disbursed to over 299,000 MSME beneficiaries between May 2020 and June 2021. For the 290,000 beneficiaries who benefited under the Coronavirus Program Business Support Scheme, CAPBAS, 60% of the beneficiaries were women-owned businesses or MSMEs. The intervention unlocked access to finance mainly to women who would not have been able to access funds to support and build their businesses. Technical support was also provided in the form of training in entrepreneurship and financial management to 15,748 beneficiaries across Ghana, over 67% being females. Over 740,000 jobs have been protected, and a database of 904,000 MSMEs has been created to inform policy going forward. Support was also given to specific sectors such as the creative arts, media, and the private education to enable them continue to offer key services in peak of the pandemic. As at the end of June 2021, a total of 52.3 million Ghana cedis has been disbursed to 29,698 beneficiaries within the creative arts industry. Additionally, 5,410 private schools, university, and association with the educational sector received a total of 41.2 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, to sustain the quality of life for Ghanaians during the pandemic, government subsidized the cost for various categories of household and industrial electricity consumption from April to December 2020. Altogether, 4,772,512 customers benefited from the electricity relief for the period. The policy, however, continued for lifetime customers from January to March 2021. Mr. Speaker, as part of government's social interventions for supply of free water under the COVID-19 initiative, the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources partnered the Ghana Water Company Limited and Community Water and Sanitation Agency to ensure the full realization of the objective. The program started in April 2020 and was extended to June 2021 for domestic consumption does not exceed 5,000 liters. In all, over 10 million urban dwellers were supplied with potable water by Ghana Water from April to December 2020. This initiative currently supplies free water to a total of over 2.3 million urban domestic dwellers whose monthly consumption does not exceed 5,000 liters of potable water at a cumulative cost of 836.82 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, CWSA, on the other hand, supplied 17.9 billion liters of potable water to rural and peri-urban population of 5.8 million at a total cost of 100.28 million Ghana cedis between April 2020 and June 2021. Mr. Speaker, the COVID-19 National Trust Fund was set up under Act 1013 to receive and manage contributions and donations from well-meaning individuals, groups, and corporate bodies. As at 30th June 2021, the COVID-19 National Trust Fund had received a total amount of 57.15 million in cash donations. These donations were made between the period April 2020 and March 2021. As at 30th June 2021, the fund had disbursed an amount of 52.5 million Ghana cedis for various programs as well as procurement of items. Mr. Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced Africa into a liquidity crisis that needs to be reversed. At the just ended 2021 Africa Development Bank Annual General Meeting in Accra, African finance ministers were in consensus that the current global financial architecture, which was designed about 75 years ago without Africa, has become less responsive to Africa's liquidity and financing need and is no longer fit for purpose. Africa cannot truly rise unless there's a tectonic shift, Mr. Speaker, in the global financial architecture to support it. To this end, African finance ministers have commenced global advocacy for the IMF to unlend between 25 to 30% of its new SDR of $650 billion to Africa. We are also advocating for the establishment of the African Stability Mechanism and the African Liquidity and Sustainability Facility, akin to the European Stability Mechanism. The African Stability Mechanism will protect the continent against external shocks by providing instant emergency access to financial assistance for countries in financial difficulty. The Liquidity and Sustainability Facility could also underwrite a more effective market in African debt that reduces the high liquidity premium African countries pay for sustainability-linked investments. Implementation of Ghana Cares. Mr. Speaker, with every crisis, the need to restructure and diversify the economy becomes imperative. The recent experience of the COVID-19 pandemic, with its disruptive impact on global and regional value chains, has once again highlighted the need to build a transformed Ghana beyond aid. It is for this reason that in November 2020, government launched the audacious 100 billion Ghana COVID-19 alleviation and revitalization of enterprises support, Ghana Cares, Ofori-Atta program. The first phase of the program, also known as the stabilization phase, was implemented between July and December 2020. It alleviated the immediate impact of COVID-19 on our economy and restored normalcy in the lives and livelihoods of Ghanaians through substantially subsidized water and electricity costs, hot meals and food packages distributed to vulnerable and underprivileged persons, increased allocation for the CAP bus scheme to support MSMEs, Ghana's CD 2 billion guarantee scheme established to support large businesses, established skills training programs in collaboration with social partners and faith-based organizations, and passage of urgent legislation to enforce COVID-19 safety protocols. Mr. Speaker, since the turn of the year, we have been purposefully pursuing the second phase of the Ghana Cares program to revitalize the economy and set it on track for transformation. As already articulated, our approach under this program is to revitalize the private sector in targeted sectors to fast-track competitive import substitution, export expansion, and the creation of decent jobs for our youth in a commercial environment that is increasingly regionally integrated. We have operationalized a well-thought-out implementation and coordination framework with a functional and staffed Ghana Cares Coordinating Office within the Ministry of Finance. Additionally, Ghana Cares delivery units, including sector specialists from the private sector, have been activated in all participating MDAs. Implementation compacts, Mr. Speaker, outlining the most critical interventions for 2021, delivery and reporting arrangements, as well as commitments by Ministry of Finance and participating MDAs have been signed. The participating ministries, departments, and agencies include the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Communications and Digitalization, MOTAC, GIPC, and GRA. Mr. Speaker, in line with our commitment to a functioning financial ecosystem and the Ghana Cares, we're establishing the building blocks for a stronger network of institutions to support businesses and entrepreneurship, including the Development Bank of Ghana, GERSO, the Ghana Commodity Exchange Venture Capital Trust, and the recently established Ghana Enterprises Agency. This network of institutions would anchor a new age of entrepreneurship, job creation, and wealth building for our post-COVID transformation. Mr. Speaker, to modernize our agricultural sector, we are investing in initiatives that would improve production and productivity in the rice, poultry, soybean, tomato, and cassava subsectors this year. The recent engagement with all the value chain actors in these subsectors has sharpened the focus of investment in a holistic manner. We are therefore providing interest rate subsidies, facilitating equipment acquisition, linking markets and producers, as well as producing relevant research in these subsectors. The youth are being supported this year to become outgrowers for anchor farmers and boost participation in commercial farming. Mr. Speaker, Ghana Cares is providing catalytic support to drive efficiency and improve outputs in the agriculture sector by investing in data and digital technology. These technologies would revolutionize the targeting of inputs such as seed inputs, extension services, and acquisition of land for commercial farming. Additionally, the program will support the reform of the fertilizer subsidy system using digital technology to make it more efficient and less prone to smuggling. This will be achieved by registering farmers for improved targeting. The registration will provide information on farmers, biodata, crops cultivated, acreage, digital location of farms to track seed and fertilizer subsidy programs. By end February 2022, 1.2 million farmers will be registered. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Thank you. Additionally, Mr. Speaker,